Once you see that green screen, then you know we're good.
I mean, the order tonight is the November 19th, 2024 Board of Selectmen meeting. Start with a roll call. It's Bob Carlson, first selectman, Selectman Nicole Porter, Selectman Brett Mastrani, and London Finance Officer Susan Zero. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Apparently the agenda wasn't as attractive tonight. We don't have as many. I'll have to remember that. It's always nice to say. Okay, so is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Anyone online, anyone in the audience? Public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion to approve the minutes of. Yeah, because we don't have an automatic admit. We're not doing, she's not admitted them as they come, they just pop on.
I want to ask them. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's anyone would like to make a comment on the non-agenda item, you're more than welcome. Now's your chance. If not, we'll move along. Okay. So we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 12th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 12th.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving minutes from November 12th, say aye. Aye. Okay. 3-0. Are there any comments by either of the two selectmen?
I have done a lot of interesting things in this role. But I actually went and met with one of our 8th grade Girl Scout troops. They were looking for something to do for a service project. And you are involved in rec. One of the things that we came up with was the building of some type of a storage cabinet that would house used sports equipment for the town, that you could go and drop off your your field hockey, not your field hockey stick, because we don't have field hockey, and then that was a place you could go and just take things for free. Are you aware inside the rec if we have any kind of a program like that?
So I can bring it to their attention too at one of their next meetings. They used to. So in the rec shack, they used to have like a bin of swap out stuff. Since they took over the rec center, so that was before they were utilizing that building. I'm not sure, but it is a great idea. So people used to bring cleats and tennis rackets and all that stuff and put it in there.
Okay.
But that's
I gave them Tom's name and contact information and just said reach out. But it was something that they really all liked, and they were kind of trying to decide how to move forward. But I'm sure that if they decide to go that route, they'll reach out to Tom first.
Since the Giving Tree does the Christmas gifts, you think they could do a sports corner? And I'm just afraid of people just taking things for the sake of taking them. Do you think? Or again, they do toys at the Giving Tree. They can do a sports corner.
So I know that the mom that led the troop was familiar with Sarah Valancourt, right? And I can certainly reach out to her. I have her email still. That might be a better option, knowing that the Giving Closet has kind of fairly limited hours, though.
They do, but they're open every week for at least a day or two. It seems.
Yeah. All right. That's a good option as well.
Are they doing the toys this year? Do you know?
Yeah, so actually Sarah Valancourt just texted me about meeting to do our annual toy drive again. So I will
So maybe the sports equipment and that'd be a year-round thing with the sports equipment, obviously. So
yeah.
Okay. Great. That's a good thing. Thank you. And thanks for going to that
it was fun
event.
Thank you.
Anything else? Brett?
No?
Okay. First, selectmen comments. I would like to, I gave you some correspondence from the Master Tuckers. You have that. I'd like to make a motion that we change the meeting on December 3rd to December 10th. Myself and Brett won't be available to be here for that. We're both going to be out of town at a conference.
So, I am gonna be in New Haven at 4 o'clock
On which day?
on the 10th.
On the 10th.
Yeah.
So we could make it a 7 o'clock meeting, unless you have to be, are you there for an event that night? Is that what it is?
So it starts at 4. I mean, technically I could try and get back to town.
No, if it's a
We have-
social, we could have a meeting without, we got a meeting with two. It's just we're gonna be missing two on the 3rd.
Yeah,
Do we have anything pressing?
yeah.
On that?
There's going to be, yeah, there is, there's things that were supposed to be at this meeting that I had to move back. One is the Wrights Road issue. One, and now I was also, I missed it. So the Conservation Commission had a vote to do something with the, land acquisition fund with, Nita Kincaid's old property. They thought I was going to do it tonight, and I didn't see where they approved it at their last meeting, so I missed it. They wanted it to be in the town meeting on the 25th, which is way too late. I can't do that. So, it's possibly could do a town meeting in the early spring, but, I guess that there's a grant that's closing sometime in early January. The only meeting we have in December right now would either be the 3rd or the 10th. I don't want to have one on the 17th. It's way too close to Christmas.
Oh, so that one is gonna be canceled?
Yeah, we don't have one. We never booked one for the 17th.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we could, but I just,
What about? So we have a tri-board meeting on the 9th.
correct.
Can we do it an hour before? I know it might be tough for you, Nicole, but can we do it an hour before the tri-board?
Trevor meetings at what, 6 o'clock?
Yeah,
And then,
no, Nicole, can you do a 5 o'clock meeting?
On the 9th?
Yeah.
Monday, the 9th?
I'm just throwing it out there to try to, because if we're gonna have to be here at 6 o'clock anyways.
I don't think that I can make that. I have an
Okay.
in-person meeting in Weathersfield at 4 to 5.
it really would like to have all three selectmen for these topics, especially the one.
I mean, I can make the 10th work. I can log in if I'm not back into town. Can I log in via Zoom to
Yeah.
start and then?
We could also push the meeting back to 7 o'clock that evening, if that helps.
On the 10th.
Yeah. Would that help you? Giving you an extra half hour? Is this just like a work-related social event, though? I'm not gonna drag you out of something that.
No,
Okay.
I'm giving a speech at my college nursing graduation.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean,
But is there like a get together after that, though?
not anything that I will make it back. If that's the only day that we can do. DTC is that day, but well, that's, I can make it if the.
So
10th
should we go on the 10th at 7? Rather than 6:30?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so all right, I'll make a motion. We move the meeting on December 3rd to December 10th, starting at 7 p.m. So, okay, any other discussion? The hearing none, we'll go. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, so we'll go 12:10 at 7 p.m. Hopefully there won't be much on that agenda, but I know there's a couple of things we have to address before the end of the year. We don't have another meeting scheduled until after the first of the year, so. And there was no. I didn't want to have one on the, you guys could be different. I didn't want to have one on the 17th, but if you'd rather just do that, Nicole.
I had it on my calendar, just assuming that we were meeting regular.
Yeah, we didn't do that when we scheduled the meetings.
Yeah, that's fine.
So would you rather do the 17th or would you rather just stick with the 10th? So that way you can go to your function after the speech.
Do you guys have anything?
I don't have anything
I
scheduled.
can
On
do
the
something on
17th?
the 7th. I'm good on the 17th.
I am too.
Want to just do that?
Why
Then
does-
you don't have to rush. You can do.
Yeah, why don't we
I
do
would
that?
love that if we could.
Yeah, so I'll amend my motion and we'll say we move the meeting from December 3rd to December 17th.
Second.
I think it's December 3rd, yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? All
No,
those in favor, say aye.
aye,
So we're gonna go December 17th
at the regular time.
at 6:30.
Okay,
That's better for all of us, I think.
thank you.
No, no problem at all. And then we won't have another one until January 7th. Okay, perfect. Next, capital discussion. So we've had presentations, we've talked about the capital. All we want to concentrate on is capital for this year, because we're going to have to adopt a capital project, a capital number for this year that we can give to the Board of Finance when that day comes that we have to do that. So you have in your packet the 5-year capital plan, but I want to look and see if there's anything we want to talk about in that 2025-26. I know Alan wants to talk about the RTA program. So do you want to start with that, Alan? Since that's high up on the list. The first 4 things can't move anyway, so that's the 5th thing on the capital.
So I know last meeting we had talked about the RTA program. I did look into. Wrong paper. I did look into the line items. Like we had talked about before, the 2704, which is the equipment maintenance, equipment and machinery maintenance, or the 2709 supply account. Both accounts right now are looking pretty good, or I can't complain for where we are in the year. Supply account might be better. We have found a couple of problems with some different trucks that we're working on fixing right now that are going to put a little damper on that account. So, I don't think that $4,000 is going to hurt the supply account at all. I know last year, I think we had a little bit left over, so it won't be bad.
Any comments on it? What do you think the new number was?
I believe it was a little over 4,000.
And you think you have room in your current budget to handle that?
I do believe so.
I think the premise of tracking equipment usage and maintenance makes sense. I also taking it out of capital would be nice too. But yeah, I'm not opposed. I just wanted to see what the other 2 selectmen say.
So I should ask, is there any other software that does the same thing? And if so, did we price that out?
So I priced out one other one. It was only for 40 pieces and I believe it was around the same price, but the only thing is it doesn't hook up to our fuel system. This is the only one I could find that actually hooks up to Fuel Master and will work with it.
Yeah, I personally, I think with the change in the pricing from the original, it makes sense and it gives us a better handle on what we're doing there. And when we come to you with questions and saying, hey, what are we doing maintenance? How much, all that stuff, I think it'll help you provide those answers and save time on you doing all these manual logs and calculations. So I think it's a great thing to look forward. At the original price, I was a little hesitant.
So the original price was a setup fee. It was a 59. I'm looking at it now. It was a 59.90 for a setup, and then it's a 43.20 yearly to keep it running. So she dropped the setup fee of 59.90. So it'll just be 43.20 from here on out every year. And that's for 60 pieces.
So as far as taking it by line item, I would motion that we remove the 15,000 from our capital for this year. And if I can hear a second, we can discuss it more. There is.
Second.
Okay. All right. Now let's open discussion. Nicole, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm in favor.
Okay. So to start the night, we're at 804,091 in capital. This takes 15,000 out of that. Next line in capital is, the first 3 lines were the trucks we bought last year. The 50,000 is the replacement of underground fuel storage. We're saving it up until 2030. So the first one that was new was the 15,000 for the RTA. Next thing is crack seal in the parking lot, $25,000 to do both the town hall and this building, $298. I think we had questions in that at the last meeting. Alan answered those. Are we okay with that, or do we want to discuss that line?
And was that an active quote we got on that?
when he did the pickleball court, he did give me a quote for this as well as the town hall, and he did, I think, the town garage parking lot. And the town garage is not as bad as here or the town hall is.
So will we be getting other quotes for this?
We can, if we get an okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get other quotes, and also look at local companies
Yep.
that do it in town. I know there's a few, and see what they have on. For quotes and then.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Would that be one you want to put up for an RFP? Or is that just call for
I-
quotes?
So I love the RFP process, except lately, we're not getting a lot of responses on RFP. So I'm not sure if it's people aren't looking, we're not on all the right sites. I'm not, I know we're putting on the ones we've put things on in the past and work and what other towns do, but I do find it odd that we're not getting some, maybe because some of the jobs are too small and people are bidding on it. So maybe it's a process. We get a few quotes, but really reach out. Like I said, there are some in-town companies that do great work that are insured properly and all those things that I think might come out in better than some of the other companies, and then base it on that. Because I do feel like the RFP process is great, but on smaller stuff like this, some of those companies aren't looking for RFPs.
Yeah.
Right. So when we reach out, we can get accurate pricing and work that.
At this stage, that we're leaving that number in for now.
Yeah, I would say leave that number in, but if we can get some quotes in the meantime, that might bring that down to more
Yeah, I mean,
accurate.
if the oil prices come down, it could definitely
Right.
help. Because I think when he gave that, they were a little bit higher anyways, so it definitely could be cheaper than that.
Okay.
Okay, moving down transfer station, we have transfer station improvements. 10, what? Did I miss something?
No, I was just, the quote for the excavator, is that to discuss in this capital?
Oh, you just asking to get price.
I did ask them to get pricing and I appreciate it. Now, so since 2016 to now, we spent 47, almost 48, well, $48,000 on rentals. And I do see the new quotes you got, and obviously they're high.
Some of them rely.
Right. But is there a reason that we don't look at, and other towns do it, businesses do it, look at some of the pre-owned goods out there for minis?
So I did look at United Rental because I was on the phone with him the last time I rented one. And he sent me his price sheet of actually what's for sale at the moment. A lot of them they don't sell them until they're over 3,000 hours. I had talked to a mechanic and he says an excavator 3,000 hours. He goes, it could be good, could be bad, depending. He goes, it is a rental. Or you could look into used through a dealership. Last time I talked to John Deere when I was on the phone with them, they didn't have much for used at the time. They had a lot of new. The only one that I did see with Chadwick was they did have financing with a new one, which I thought was pretty neat. The thing I was skeptical about is the last one we rented from United Rental was brand new. So I was like, they must have a used one, old one. And then we got that one the second time we rented it, and I would not buy that machine now that we've used it. I understand why they're getting rid of it. I question why they're getting rid of it at 3,000 hours. I mean, I've seen plenty of them with 10 or 15,000. I just question why the rentals they get rid of at 3,000. I mean, we could go to an auction or look around.
Yeah, like because I do think, and I know I brought this up many years, that it for what you guys utilize it for, it makes sense to purchase one. And I personally feel like we can find a used one at a much discounted rate, probably in the $50,000 range. That makes sense. I know Gary's in the audience. He's very good at finding pre-owned tractors and hydraulic equipment.
So the cheapest one I found on United, it was like 3,400 hours roughly, and it was like 48,000. Their most expensive one I saw was in the western side of the state, and it was like 62,000 with 3,046 hours. I don't know why that one sticks.
Do we ever go up to Ritchie Brothers or any of them?
I don't know if we ever bought anything, not since I've been here.
Okay.
We could look.
I just think it's worth exploring, knowing that we're spending $50,000. And I know it's from 2016, but I also feel like if you had one, you'd utilize it a lot more than some of the other equipment. So I know that's not in the capital. I know we talked about it, but knowing we spent
It's averaging 6,000 a year.
Well, already this year, we're at what? 13,000 for just this year. So, I mean, even if we brought that up by payments of what it would look like,
Yep.
I think it might be a beneficial purchase.
Yeah, I can actually call Chadwick because he had just sold, he said 2 brand new ones to Manchester, I believe. And I think he said they were going to be trading in one of them. I don't know what it looks like or what it runs like. I believe it's the water company up there that had it.
Right. And if they're properly maintained, I mean, in one of the better brands compared to some of the newer Chinese ones out there, I think it might be beneficial. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but I've been a proponent of, because I know how much you utilize it if you have it, and I know I just see it when I see it on the side of the road, just sitting there sometimes, and we're paying a monthly charge for it or weekly.
We can put it, we don't have to finalize this, so we can do it on the 17th. If you do want to have him, so we'll leave it open with that as an open question at this point.
Yeah, it would just do some
Yeah.
research and, I mean, what is your take on it? I guess as the expert now in the highway department about owning one compared to leasing it. I mean, renting it when we.
It would definitely get used more. Because right now we just like set up the jobs for a month and then try to get all the jobs done in between rain. And of course, you'd lose a couple days of rain, or if something happens that we can't get out there with a couple of guys take a day off. Which then you could play around it. If you owned it, you could work around that and it doesn't hurt you in any way.
And do we have a trailer that fits them?
Yes, no bigger than that.
What horsepower, what size is this one?
9 ton.
Okay.
So the only reason I went with a 9 ton machine, I actually talked to Preston today when I had a meeting with Adam. They went with a 7,000 pound machine. They wish they had gone to a 9,000 pound machine, but they don't have the truck and trailer. They wish they had because they can't pick up a sump to set a catch basin. It'll pick it up and move it on the ground, but they can't set it in the hole because you lose all
Metering
the.
pretty good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we wish they had gone with a bigger one. They do like the small one when they're doing smaller roads and in the woods more, but doing drainage. But when it's in the road, they do wish they had a bigger one.
I don't know, why is there so much use in the last 2 years of this?
From what I've noticed, we've been doing a lot more drainage.
Is there an end to it, or are we doing it now because things were failing, we're trying to play catch up, or
A little bit. That we are a little bit.
what happens when we catch up?
There's gonna be plenty out there to do.
So, yeah, so
For
you're right.
25
We went
years.
from 1,300 2021 to 2,000 2022, and then we're at pretty much 15,000 the next each year, 23 and 24, give or take a little bit. So do you think that would be consistent going forward?
I do think for the next 10 years, I think we have plenty of pipes to change. I think there's quite a bit of rows and quite a bit of buried pipes that are old steel ones from the 70s. That are, from what I was told, a lot of the steel pipes are in the ground were given to us by the state. We put them under our roads and now they're all starting to fail and rot. And it's a lot easier to dig in a single lane and let traffic still go by with an excavator because you can park a truck behind you rather than on the side of you than the backhoe. It's a lot convenient to keep the traffic moving and a lot smaller work area.
So this falls into the category of a piece of equipment that we might want to own because we rent one too often. Do we have any piece of equipment that we don't use as much as we need to and we own it and we could get rid of it and then rent as needed?
Possibly. At that point, I would think that I would definitely take the backhoe off the replacement list for right now and see what it got used in the lifespan of that machine. Maybe the backhoe wouldn't be replaced right away if we saw the excavator was more convenient to use. The only hard part is doing drainage then, but if we set it up, we always have the truck and trailer with you. You could always move for long spans of road where there was no drainage. It's a lot easier to get off the road and in and out of places with the excavator than it is the backhoe some days.
I know a lot of companies that their backhoes sit once they got a quality mini.
So that would
So
definitely,
we should look at that too. So see what is we don't use very often that we could rent versus something that we use a lot we should own.
exactly.
When we add a piece of equipment, so we always have it, right? So now it's 5 or 6, 7 years from now, we're gonna say, okay, now we need a new one of these because it's in the the stable of equipment. But if there's something we don't use that often, we should look about changing it.
The same thing with the excavator up at the transfer station when we finally get to do the upgrade. I would see with that, how long that sits. I mean, that might not be worth keeping if we're not going to use that as much either. We would use that more on the road, but it's way too wide. By the time you get crossed in a road to dig a trench, you can't get anybody by. It's pretty wide.
It's just, it's nice to have everything, but it's also good to get rid of things we don't use, so.
Exactly.
Do you mind if I add somebody in the audience that, since he's on Board of Finance, he's familiar with these things
Narrow this down.
because he would be on the next step as we talk about this.
Which person in the audience are you
That would
talking
be
about?
Gary and Nino.
Just checking.
His opinion, who's familiar with equipment purchasing, and on the Board of Finance, his insight on leasing or renting these compared to purchasing them.
And it just so happens he's the chairman of the capital committee.
Yeah,
Well,
we're killing a few birds with one stone here.
So I can't speak for the Board of Finance. I can speak a little bit for capital. My opinion is whatever we have should be running and the utilization should be up because dormant equipment, like empty buildings, eat themselves. They don't run, rodents move in. So if we have a piece of equipment like Alan's describing and we can keep that up and running and utilized, then some of the things that sit idle, we should move along because we will end up paying double the maintenance just to keep them running. That's just my personal opinion. No professional opinion there.
All right, thanks.
thank you. Okay, so why don't we just table that entry under capital until Alan does more research.
Okay.
Okay, and there's nothing in capital that you were gonna knock off this year anyway, because the backhoe wasn't in this year. Okay, transfer station.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Some of the long-term things that we're saving for when we look at the underground fuel storage
Yes.
replacement, do we ever periodically get get an updated quote to make sure that what we're putting away each year is actually going to be at the end?
I think when they had that quote, I think Donnie did it with a gentleman out of Griswold. We talked about what's it gonna cost when we do this in 2030. But you can correct me if I'm wrong.
So it was projected out, not like what it cost in 2001, and we've been saving for,
So we got that quote last year.
okay.
For this meeting, pretty much. I can update it again, but it is still 6 years
Yeah,
out.
I just wanted to make sure that we're not just plugging in numbers every year and not taking into consideration that things might have gone up.
Yeah, 'cause
And we
we've
have
done
to
that
pay more.
before with equipment, right? So the good thing like this, similar to the bulky waste closure, is when you're putting money toward it, it has to happen. So we know this has to happen by 2030. We're gonna have $300,000. So even if it costs more, at least we have $300,000.
Oh, totally, yeah, yep.
Unlike a truck, when you go to buy it and now it's 50,000 more than
Yeah.
when you save, so. It's a good point, I agree. Thank you. Okay, so talking about that, transfer station improvements, bulky waste closure and generator upgrades. They're at 10,000, 15,000 and 5,000, similar to what he has across the board for the 5-year plan. We have money put aside already for the bulky waste pile at 65,000. We have some money put away for transfer station improvements, 27,935. Is there any discussion on any of those items, or should we leave them on for now?
I'd leave them on.
You good, Brett? You good with those one?
For now, yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have to vote and to approve this on the 17th, though.
Okay.
Computers, 10,000. It's like a real round number, I get it, but we just did have a meeting with the computer consultant. And I think there's gonna be another meeting this week, actually. And he's been with us now for about 3 weeks. He's got a new set of eyes to look at things. He's very part-time. He did do 5. He was a computer IT director for 5 towns at once: Wyndham, Scotland, Chaplin, Brooklyn, Hampton. So he just retired. He's a young retiree. He's in his mid to late 50s, I think. So, but he's now looked at this for 3 weeks, and he's not so much with the computers themselves, because I think even when Jim was here, we updated those every 4 to 5 years, the desktop computers, but he's got some concerns with the servers. And it could be somewhat expensive to update. One server is, I think he said it was 10 years old and one's 14 years old. And his recommendation was to buy a used server with new drives to replace the oldest one. Actually, to become the newer one, and then the one that's the newer of those two would become our backup server. We don't have all our things backed up right now, so we're in a pretty precarious situation. But this will be coming down the pike very shortly as we have a few more discussions and meetings with him. So I'm not thinking we should remove that 10,000 at this point.
I don't think we should move it at this point. I would like us to come up with a plan of migrating to the cloud. But I know that'll take some time.
Exactly. And I think at this time, I think Brett's mentioned this before, when the schools has their IT situation they're in right now, we are in, it might be a good time to look at the whole picture as far as what we're doing townwide with IT. We're not putting anything in land acquisition fund. Town building maintenance, 20,000. If we end up getting the approval to fix the tunnel, when we go to an RFP, and we know that's going to be somewhere around 40,000, it'll take the majority of that 59,000 out of the town building maintenance. So we are going to want to replace that because the old town hall needs to be painted. Just some other things in town that have to be done. I mean, that probably should have been painted 3 years ago, but I'm dragging my heels a bit. And then the 1750 farmhouse repairs, that we're gonna fix that back porch. If you remember, we didn't fix it last year when we put the windows in.
It needs paint too, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I think the back porch, we actually have two people on Hewitt Farm, Rick Wood and Bob Dunn. I think if we buy the materials, they could do the labor for a very low amount of money and just do it in-house. So I know when we got a quote on that was
The paint, do what?
not the paint, fixing the back porch.
Oh, okay.
We got a quote on that 2 years ago, and we got the quote on the windows. It was around 17,500 back then. But they think they can do it for quite a bit if we're just buying the materials. So I'd like to keep the 25,000 in the farmhouse.
You think we need that much for this year?
Well, we got 20,000, which is gonna take up quite a bit of that back porch, but painting that, if it's anywhere near what the town hall quote was, which was around 22,000, between 22 and we'll say 15 for the back porch is 35. Those two numbers together is 45. So we can decrease it by 10,000 if you'd like.
Yeah. Are we? When's our lease up on that from?
So the lease is up in July. The tenant already told me he is shipping out in March or April. I had someone contact me about renting, and I said, well, you're gonna have to go to the Board of Selectmen, and we have to vet it out just like we did before. But actually, as another person who, from town, he works at the Coast Guard station as a Coast Guard Academy as an instructor, just like Patrick did. I think Patrick probably told him about it. He's a resident from town. He went to Wheeler, and his brothers. I think his name's Smith. I think you know him. They ran cross country. He was one of the candidates the first year when we rented to Patrick, but he feels like and he knows Patrick well. They're friendly. If the Board of Selectmen decided that he would put it out and he made sense, then he would move in. Patrick would leave some of his furniture there for him to use, and then he would just kind of move in and take over. It would be a new lease agreement, but he would take over and whatever, however many years the selectmen would want to do that.
Right. So I guess that goes into some of this discussion too, is if we were to do something like that, we'd be able to use that 20,000 that we have already to start doing that work on the.
So we have enough money now to start doing the work on the porch in the spring.
Okay.
Then the next thing would be the painting, and we probably have to do the carriage house also. So if the paintings we'll say is 20,000 or 25,000. I said it would be cutting it close if we dropped this by 10.
Okay.
But
No, I'm okay leaving it in. If the reason I asked about the lease is I'd like some of this work done before a new person moves in. You don't want to impede their living and.
we think we can do that in the spring, and I would not have a new person move in until after July 1st anyway.
Okay.
All right, so that's on the okay, so we'll leave it alone for now. Are you okay with that, Nicole?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We also have to make a decision if we want to rent it again, and we may decide that you don't want to rent it, but I mean, to me, it's,
So when you said he's shipping out, not like he's going to sea and then he's coming back.
no, he's not.
Being stationed someplace.
Yeah,
else
it was a 3-year
ending the
agreement.
lease.
Yeah, I think he's gone back to
The lease
California,
goes till when?
July 1st.
Would we, and we would let him out of the lease
I would say
early?
that. No, we had to, has the lease until July 1st.
Okay,
And we get automatic payments from the US government for that.
okay. Okay,
Now, he could sublet. I mean, he could, if we decide to let the other person move in, that's his friend. He's also a teacher. I mean, he could just pick up the last 2 payments, the last 2 months, right?
Okay.
So with that, I get be a discussion for the spring. I do like the fact that we do get income revenue for that house.
Yeah, no, me too.
remind me again what the,
1,600 plus they pay all their own utilities.
It might be time to do a slight increase, but
Yeah, but it's nice that they pay all the own utilities. Yeah, I don't disagree.
do we know what the max is the government pays?
I don't.
Hey, we find that out.
Okay, Boston Education Center improvements. We put 20,000 in this last year. I know that, but you have some visions of some major changes, especially in this particular room. So we have that 20,000 there from last year. We have 20,000 across the board. I'm not so sure that that's the right number or whether we should be doing that, but what's our discussion?
So I guess I would ask, so I know when we talk about some of the maintenance that we know inside, like I look at that painting every meeting we're in, realize we need to do some work in here. The electrical wires hanging out, I think maybe where a clock was. So maybe if we have our new highway foreman take a peek around the facility and give his recommendation on what he thinks might need to be done. Because I know outside, I think there's some boards that are looking a little rotten out there.
Fascia boards, yeah.
Yeah, so I would like some insight on what we think needs to be done in like time frame. So in the next year, we should be doing this, 2 years doing this. I know some of this is cosmetic work when it comes to painting, things like that. I'm not sure we need major changes, but I would like a little feedback on what the highest priority are for the maintenance of this building, and then structure it on that. I don't know if that's something we can get quick enough for this process.
Well, I just don't want to tax the taxpayer with just an idea that we might do something. If we have a plan, it makes sense.
Right.
I do like, I think 2 on the outside lights around this building that stay on all night. It'd be nice if we had some sort of a timer that they go up at 10 o'clock or something. And
I
come
thought
back.
we talked about that last year because we had a neighbor that complained
They
that the
just stay
lights were
on.
on all the time.
They just stay on. But I think that and so there is upgrades we can do to this building that makes sense and lower the utility costs at the same time.
So we don't even have we put a light sensor on the outside,
That's what I mean. Yeah,
so that should be.
we have lights all around this building. And I think I'd love to come up with a plan for this room to make it a more permanent meeting space. We do use it for voting. It was nice is that back section back there. The school uses it. We use it. Organizations use it. I have actually one of the unions, the Steelworkers Union, through their rep asked if they could use it for one afternoon, late afternoon, one day next month. So it's nice to have that space.
It is. I just worry that I'd like it not be used as storage though. As we utilize it and put things in, we should take them back.
There's actually everything there is used. So that, I mean, you could take the desk and put them back on the
Right,
floor,
that's
but
what-
then to drag them down each time, and it's just, they're not taking up that much room, and they do quite a bit of testing. But up to the point, I get it. To make it look nicer, you mean?
Yeah, especially when we have events and things happening here.
Okay. So what do we want to do with that 20,000 in the education center improvement line?
I mean, I would like to coordinate that and have that with the jobs we're doing and not just throw a number up there, I guess it's kind of where I was going.
So since we have 20,000 already in the pot for that from last year, should we?
is there 20,000?
We put 20,000 in last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to come up with a plan for this room maintenance in those outside boards, at least get a cost on that stuff.
So do you think we could skip a year without the 20,000 this year?
I don't have an idea on what that would cost. Is that something? So for instance, we'll take it, easy. The painting in here where we can see it like falling off the ceiling. Is that something we would internally do?
Mhm.
Our highway crew can
Mhm.
do that based on hourly wage and the supplies?
I'm answering for you, but are you nodding yes or no? I mean, you're not talking about repainting this room, are you?
No, I'm talking about scraping and painting, like the peeling paint,
Where do
maybe
you,
fixing
where
the
do you,
wires.
where are you looking?
Over there.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, Vanna, thank you.
Huh.
And then, and really, some of that is just also organization, right, of things we leave out all over the place, so. But I think the painting, and maybe that a more permanent setup for some of this stuff, because the wires, they're a hazard really more than an eyesore.
Kind of both. It'd be nice if we had some sort of drape or something in the front of this
Yeah,
thing.
well, we talked about getting drape that would clip on, so maybe we utilize some of that to set this room and then going forward, so maybe we were able to drop that 20,000 down, but I don't know if we can get rid of it completely for on.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, I would flag it as something that we would need to go back to, that we
Yeah.
think that
Can
we might
get
be
a
able
little
to
more
lower.
information for next meeting when we have to make our cuts?
So possibly, it's like, possibly drop this to maybe.
Knowing
10.
there's already 20 in there, right?
Yeah, I'll have that updated too.
And you don't foresee any catastrophic failure of any kind of HVAC or any kind of
That's
equipment in
that's
here?
not part of this number. That's part of the 5,000 we put aside for this building. This is a whole different number. So in our budget, we have 80,000 rather for the,
Oh, this is just improvements.
mhm.
We have a separate line item, because I was looking at town building maintenance.
Yeah.
How is this not a town building, and would we just,
It is, but this money is earmarked specifically for this building. And then we have money for utilities and use of the building. That's in another part of the budget. It's not
If
capital.
we have 20,000, from what we've talked about just now, I don't think we're beyond that. So maybe we can drop that down to 10 just to have something, but I would like us to know what that plan is and not just put money.
if we get super tight, just hold off on the whole
Right.
year? Do we have, I know 804 and change is where we started, and we've already been able to eliminate the RTA program, but we don't have a figure yet from Board of Finance, right? Of what
What do you mean? We have to give them our figure.
we are gonna put forward a figure.
I will say this, that not last year, we were 643, I think. The year before, we were 4 something. The year before that, we're over 8.
Oh, okay. So we've done it over 8.
And Bob, maybe I missed this and
Yeah.
I know we talked about it, but where would that, and I know we have one quote on it, but where would that tunnel money fit in here?
It's out of the town building maintenance.
Okay. And are we looking to do that this fiscal year?
Yeah,
In this budget?
the money's there, if we can get the an RFP going, which Alan's gonna write for us, and we're gonna get a price using the but that'd be according to the quote that we already have.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that in these dollars we're talking about.
No. No, what we're doing is replacing, putting 20,000 to replace some of that comes out. All right, so the ambulance replacement's already there, turnout gear and rescue gear, the chief talked about last time it was here, the tanker is in year 5 of 7. The big one here is the Hearst tool is the second year of 2 years, we did 35,000 last year, and they bought those, that's why there's nothing there. So that what the chief had hoped to do is start working on the trucks, and this would be the rescue truck, which is a 10-year lease, for 155, 655, and there's 125, that money has been put aside for the it's really closer to 100 now because of the 25,000 for lights that was put aside for a rescue truck refurb that would go back in the undesignated fund. I can't just use it to knock off the 155 down to 55 because it doesn't work that way. So it has to go back in undesignated. So that this is the big this is the big thing. Last year we talked about the town garage and renewing that fleet and how we were going to do it. This is the first vehicle of, I will see the second vehicle kicks in 4 years, 2028, 2029. But for this year, this is the first year of the rescue truck. I'm sure that's going to be what we're gonna be discussing the most when it comes to
Yeah.
this.
Where did we land on going after grants for this stuff?
Well, we landed, no, we're still working on it. There's a grant meeting coming up next week. There's grant opportunities, but to try to do a grant now before we get this, unless you just knock it out and push it back to next year, but in order to do a grant now and get it done in time to do this, it just doesn't work time wise. Doesn't mean we can't get grants for other vehicles. Or,
Well, even if this is in our budget and are we looking to purchase it this year?
or it takes 4 years to come in. So we're looking to stop putting money aside. This is
When will we have to sign? When are you looking to sign a contract on it?
when we order it, we have to put a deposit down.
So this would be after July. Because it'd have to go to budget
Yes,
vote.
yeah, we have to go up to July.
So-
If it gets approved in the budget, we put a deposit down. We don't have to make any other payments until 4 years when the truck comes in, or we can keep making payments, waiting for the truck to come in.
So it would technically give us from now till July to look at any grants that might be available for something like this.
Yeah, there's some of the cancels that both myself and Suzanne are looking at.
And then if we had to pull it out, we could pull it out saying, hey, there's a great grant opportunity.
Mhm.
And even if we got a grant, that would still go towards the cost of the unit. So it would be just a dollar shift.
Mhm.
So even if we committed to this and worked out the grant, then it's after, that would just replace the money and then we could take that out of our,
Yeah, I would think so.
right? Okay.
That's why I'd like to leave it in for now, and then we present this to the Board of Finance once we come up with an approved capital plan. The Board of Finance will then have to listen to the emergency services and the highway department giving their, there's a presentation on these same things. Do you want to skip to reval now, or we have the house, want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Reval is happening in 2025. It's the in between reval. We have enough money for it. But we're putting $15,000 in to make sure that we're covered. Anything that's left over for the 2025 reval will go towards the 2030 reval, which is we're starting to save up now, starting this year.
And can we transfer that from one line to another? Or would we have to go to,
I'm not sure, but I'd have to ask, maybe Melissa on that, if that can be done. If not, I would have to go back in the undesignated fund and then come back out again.
So we're at 789,091. Taking out the 15,000 for the RTA program, but leaving the 20 in at this point for,
Right, so if we end up taking that out, but then we might put in an excavator, depending on what Alan comes up with for Brett by the next meeting. The excavator we talked about a little bit earlier
Yeah.
tonight.
so where were we last year?
I don't have it with me. I think it was, oh, I do have it. It was 648 maybe. Let's see. 638, 436 last year. And I think the capital committee is looking at doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 3% of the overall budget. Capital.
Overall municipal budget or total budget? So we're at what, 20?
3.5 maybe.
What's that work out to?
Well,
You have it
those-
written down? I'll do the math, but I just didn't.
I'll just figure it 24 million, what's 3% of that?
So 690,000. If I did 23 million, 3%, 690.
Yeah, if that's what the capital committee suggests in the Board of Finance.
So then we have
bucks into it.
some cutting to do.
yeah, I'm not sure we can do the excavator this year. That's where we're gonna cut.
Well, we'd have to look at other things. So I guess that's a question too. We don't have the excavator price in here, but where does that rental funds come from?
Operating
operational
budget, operating budget.
I mean,
I just hate not having any asset to show for
no, I mean,
$15,000 a year.
I get it. I mean, how much of this is even touchable? How much of this can we even,
Well, the rescue truck,
cut?
Um,
Well, the rescue truck's the big one, but then again, I think if we do that, then we're just doing what we've done for the last 20
Yeah.
years. I mean, that's always been the easy thing to do, right?
what's the hard number on the rescue truck that we know right now?
Whatever, including financing, it's whatever 165 times 10 is, so. About 1,500,000 and
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5
Change.
plus million. But that includes financing.
I really would like to jump on looking for grants for a lot of this stuff, and I know we're a little bit behind, but we keep saying we have to do these things, but and we should look at grants, but we really need to get on that because other towns are definitely getting grants to replace their fleet.
What happens if we don't crack seal the parking lot?
Then we have to repave them because it breaks the platform.
And just educate me, crack sealing is just putting a coating on top of it. It's filling the cracks, right? And just putting a shiny coat on top of it.
So that's what we did at the rec. I don't know if you've been up there, or the firehouse, or the senior center. They come in, they weed whack the weeds out of the cracks, they blow the sand and all the stuff out of the cracks, they fill them, and then they coat the whole parking lot, and then they repaint lines. It's to preserve the top of it, turns it black again from the gray it normally is right now. It's supposed to help save it. I mean, town hall's not horrible right now, but I don't remember last time it was done. It's been a while.
This might be a silly question.
Yeah.
But how come we can't ever chip seal parking lots?
You can.
And what's the cost on that compared to
I could price it out.
Wouldn't that be messy?
for a few days, just like the roads are?
But people don't walk on the road. People walk-
Are you worried about like what happened in Kingswood and Meadowood where we're gonna have to pave it because now we're playing pickleball over there? That's my only concern about chip sealing the parking lot. Is that now you can't ride a bicycle or a skateboard or anything like that in there.
Worried about people walking parking lots. They don't walk on roads, basically. So they're walking in parking lot now, they're coming into town hall and they're dressed up maybe for a meeting and they're gonna go through this chip.
I'm just talking about how much longer that extends it compared to,
I mean, a parking lot, I would
Seal
think quite a bit
yeah.
compared to a road. I mean, they say what chip seals 5 or 6 years.
But there's nothing driving over a parking lot on a regular basis like a road where you, right, you're pushing it down into the asphalt.
The road they just did,
Chester, Maine,
Ruderman, that far side, I mean,
Chester, Maine, and Hangman Hill.
yeah, Hangman Hill, I mean, they chip sealed. They swept it up the quickest I've ever seen and it was.
They sweep it up the same day.
Yeah, it was all set compared to, I remember years prior, you'd be driving, it'd be loose stone for quite some time. This one was chip sealed, picked up and it was like asphalt.
So this is really bad to say, but the same company did Ryder Road that did Hangman Hill, and they did a much better job on Hangman Hill. And they didn't change anything from what I've seen.
I just thought I'd ask because it actually extends the life a lot longer and seal coating lasts, 2 years almost.
What kind of price difference is there?
I'd have to look it up. I want to say it was 198 a square yard on chip seal the last time I got a quote. But it's gonna go up as of July as well. So I can get the updated price.
And how much is seal coated?
I don't know the square on that, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we table the capital for tonight? We'll address it at our next meeting, but if you have questions on, if you go through the capital, you have questions, you want me to have Alan do quotes? I'm sure he wrote most of this down, but we can get those between now and the 17th. And in the meantime, he'll get a price on the excavator. Look around this building for projects that we might be able to do. Okay? We go with that tonight? Okay.
Yep.
Board of Selectmen schedule. I took into consideration the school vacation week, holidays. I don't think there's any conflict, stay with the first and the third week, except in January, obviously, because the first is on a Tuesday.
So the only thing that I question is election day. Would that be the first Tuesday of the month, which would be November 4th?
It could be. I'm gonna look at my calendar.
I mean, that is the first Tuesday of the month, but that's usually election day, right?
Usually is, so I missed that. We can move it to the 11th, which is what we did this year. You guys want to just plan on doing that?
Yeah.
Taking the 4th, so we're gonna move, and I'll retype this and give it to.
And the only reason I say that
Taking
is
the fourth off or backing it up to the following
Do what we
Tuesday?
did this year. This year we went to the 12th and the 19th, so we'll go to the 11th and the 18th.
and that way it's just not considered a special meeting because we're
Yeah.
putting it in our calendar.
Do we want to eliminate the 16th in December? You want to leave it there?
So I like leaving them and then canceling if need be,
Yeah. I'm
just
fine.
because the whole special meeting rule that if there was something that we have to deal with, we can put it there, or if there isn't anything, we can just eliminate it without having to.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to accept the Board of Selectmen schedule as revised.
we just with the 11th instead of the 4th of November. Okay,
I'll second.
any other discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so 3-0 amended. We don't have to vote on the tri-board because we're only 1/3 of it. I just wanted to give it to you so you have it. So I'll do the tri-board schedule for next year. We don't meet in March because it's during the budget season. This will be June 9th, September 8th, and December 8th. So, town employee holiday schedule. I'm only talking about these holidays, not down the road, not Juneteenth, or just this Christmas coming up now. What I'd like to do is have our employee luncheon on the Friday before. Like we did last year, we did it at 1 instead of 12. So rather than closing town hall for an hour and then going back,
What day is this?
that's Friday, the 20th. We did it at 1 and we were able to stay there. So if someone wanted to have a beverage, they could do that and they didn't have to go back to work. So that's that. I'd like to do that. We could talk about that. Second thing is we only have Christmas as a holiday. We don't have Christmas Eve. And I don't want to do Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas. Last year we did the day after because Christmas is on a Monday. So we had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This year, unfortunately, Christmas is on a Wednesday. I'd like to do Tuesday as a day off for the employees, both for the highway garage and the town hall, any of the town employees, as Tuesday as a holiday. So the people that want to get out of town for Christmas Eve, they can. And I don't think there'd be much going on on Christmas Eve anyway. So that's my two things I'd like to do is have the employee luncheon at 1 o'clock at the brewery on that Friday, the 20th, followed by that Tuesday off, which is Christmas Eve.
And that's a paid holiday.
Yes. Last year we did it as the day after Christmas, but I can't imagine we would take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off and have people work Monday and Friday. So just
And what time are you looking to close on Friday?
1 o'clock.
Yeah, I would have proposed the Monday. Close at 1 and then they go to their holiday and then they're off until the 26th.
We could, except the brewery's not open on Monday. Have to come in and fire up
Yeah,
the
but usually if we talk to them and they know about it, Sunday because it's burning all day Sunday, they'll keep it on a Monday.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of them having to come in on a day that they're not usually there and have to, at least if they go on a Friday, they fire up the ovens and they stay on for Friday night when we're going,
Yeah.
the regular people come in. So, I mean, they do us a favor and they do it for quite a bit less money than anywhere else. we
Right,
do
but
it.
I think they're open to the public at 3 o'clock on Friday.
It's 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And we'd have it from 1 o'clock to 2:30, and then the people who want to stay could stay.
The only reason I was thinking Monday is because then they have to come back to work on Monday. If we do it on the Monday, they have their holiday party and then they're off until after Christmas. So then they can start then
I could,
coming back on Monday morning.
I could ask Carl, I just don't want to put them in a position that's going to cost them money. That's all.
So I can make a motion to either do Friday or Monday based on your discovery of maybe ask town hall rep people too, if that what works best, because I'd like to give them that and I'd like that to work for everybody.
Suzanne, you have a staff meeting on Thursday, don't you?
I do.
Can you ask them if they would prefer Friday at 1 or Monday at 1? And in the meantime, I'll call and see. I just don't want to put we're in a position where they have to heat up those, and because they're gonna be closed Tuesday and Wednesday. So they're gonna come and heat those things up for one day, so.
Yeah, I'll find out.
So I'll make a motion to do it either Friday at 1 o'clock or Monday at 1 o'clock based on your discovery.
Okay, you go with either one. How about you?
I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to attend either, but that doesn't matter. So whatever is good for everybody else.
Are you good? Okay, yeah, comment.
So I do want to talk about our process. So, and I know we did this the other day, but technically, once there's a motion, it's should only be the board that discussed it. Before a motion, we can open it up to the public, but once a motion is made, like it's a totally different.
I agree with you. So I think we did that a couple of times at the last. one.
Right, so I think we should just clarify, like,
But once we make a motion, it's in discussion, right?
amongst the board. So if you look at Robert's rules, that's the sediment of it. There's a
That's for
motion.
the last 3 years, though, once we went to discussion, once the board of selectmen had nothing else to say, we did open it up to the floor. It may not be Robert's rules of order, but it is what we did for the last 3
Okay.
years. If you want to change that, we can.
I think we should look, I think,
Because we were not supposed to really discuss it until after the motion. And then people would say, well, I don't want you to vote on it until you hear what I have to say about it, which is what the last administration never did. And we tried to do it.
I don't mind opening it up before a motion is potentially made, but once a motion is made, it really should just be a board that discusses and moves forward. But
Okay,
we can look into that for the next meeting.
okay. So can we open this a discussion now?
So you're basically authorizing an additional 1.5 days holiday that are not in the union contracts.
One day, just like we did last year, one day that was not in the contract, which was the day after Christmas. And the other day is 3 hours from 1 to 4. It's not a half day, it's 3 hours, yes.
The reason that it's always been conducted on a lunchtime and come return to work is because it was not a day off. And if you're, I feeling if you're going to give extra days or partial days off, it ought to be negotiated in with the contract. We give them more vacation. We demand higher contribution to their healthcare plan. Everything's negotiated in the contract, and yet you're basically disregarding that contract and the effort that went into approving that. And you're setting a precedence. You even mentioned last year we did the same thing. We did this or that. But holidays, in my opinion, should be negotiated in the contract.
Last year we voted to do Juneteenth and it wasn't in the contract. With the board of selectmen, we voted to do that day. It wasn't in the contract. I think the board of selectmen have the ability to do that.
I think there's a little bit more difference there in that it's a political pressure of recognizing a federal holiday that was not prior to that when the contract was awarded. But
Okay,
that's my.
thank you.
You can just go back and notice the union and just say, this is what we've decided, and just afford them the opportunity and the awareness that.
I'll be honest with you, we use these in the, when we do negotiate, we do use these as part of negotiating. That have we already being asked, we've done these things to take care of our employees. It usually does not fall on deaf ears, so.
You know when the last day of school is?
I don't.
Why?
Because we're talking about contracts and we're talking about what we give town employees. If we're closing town hall, but the school's still, I just am concerned a little bit about that, but it is a benefit to our employees that are working hard, and it's the holiday time, and I get it.
And
I will tell you this, when I go into the other building, the new town hall, all I hear all the time is, boy, when Sean was the first selectman, he used to do this and he used to do that. We got ice cream trucks and we got lunch and we got pizza. That's what I hear all the time. So.
Yeah, a little harder as it will be.
Becoming a Scrooge.
Uh, yeah, so
The only thing with Monday is Willie, Donna and Charles don't work Mondays. That's a regular day off. Just a consideration.
Okay, but it's, I wouldn't do the town without doing the garage, all the town employees, obviously. But,
But they could come from home, right? If they wanted to come. I mean, you know me, I come from a profession that gets
How you go. You get no.
4 holidays a year and that's it. So this is,
So why don't we just ask them on, Suzanne, ask them on Thursday what they think. And then, we have a meeting on the 17th, but I'd like to finalize it prior to then because we have to let the brewery know what we're doing too. So I'll talk to Carl. I'll send you both an email without, say, please do not respond and tell you what we found out. How's that?
it's fine.
Okay, next. Town hall attorney discussion. So I gave you a packet today that has, we could not find, I gave you an email from Zane to Lloyd, Attorney Langhammer, where she asked on June 6th for his fees. He got back to us and said he had done those in 1990 something and he couldn't find them and they are what they are. And
This is our existing
the
one.
one that yes.
Okay.
So what I did find is one set he did do for, and I redacted the name of the person, but the person owed us $607. All the fees came up to $3,015. So for us to get $1 on the $607 he owed us, he would have had to pay the attorney basically $2,500 first. And then they were making small payments. And you can see what I mean, I can't imagine if I owed $600 and I had to pay $3,000. But that's just a snapshot of how he operated. And we would not get any money for the town until all those fees were paid. On the last page of the contract is what the fixed attorney fee schedule is for representation. You see it on the back part of the Pullman Conley. What I'd have to say, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. One, the town doesn't pay these fees. These fees are paid by the person who owes the taxes, number one.
Always?
Always. We want it to be fair. But the second thing is, it doesn't go to the attorney until the tax collector tries to work out a payment plan first. She's very good at trying to say, hey, give me, $100 a week or $100 a month or whatever happens to be. It's only when they make an agreement and then they don't keep it, it goes to the tax attorney. So at that point, once it goes to the tax attorney, we're not paying for this. The fees are going to the tax attorney. Again, we don't want to over penalize someone that might have a hardship and they didn't pay their taxes, but they always have the ability for us to work out something with the tax collector on a local level before it goes to the attorney. I'm not one that wants to put names in newspapers and publicly embarrass people like some people in town wanted a few years back. To me, I'm not into public shaming, but I am into getting paid. And I think that this particular attorney works hard. Both Zane and Suzanne, we've worked with them in the past. His firm handles, how many towns is it, Suzanne? 100 and...
Out of the 169, it was significant. It was like 120 of the towns.
So this is what they do. They also were very good at doing, not that we're going to do another one anytime soon, but they also very good at doing tax sales. The current attorney did not want to touch that tax sales. Zane kind of forced them to do it. And when we left that room, I think the town was on the short end. I think the attorney made more money that day than the town did. But we did clean up some properties and we are going to collect taxes. As a matter of fact, I think the tax bills went out today for the taxes that owed for all these new people that just bought this property, the 2023 taxes. So that's where we are. So we have a history with this, with two of our employees, one being the tax collector. We have a gentleman who was our attorney for a number of years, and I don't know whether he's getting close to retirement. He spends most of his time in Las Vegas. He lives out there. He comes back to town as needed. He did not engage that well on the tax sale we just had. And the fact that the way he charges the people that owe the money and how he gets paid every dollar before we get $1. I just think it makes sense to go with someone like this. Again, we're not paying, the town's not paying. We're just getting a good tax attorney doing his job after Zane gets frustrated from not working out the deal with this. I mean, we always try to work that deal out first. It's good for the taxpayer, it's good for the town, so. Because then we're getting the very first dollar that's paid. And I'd just like to have a discussion on possibly hiring this firm, and the gentleman's name is Adam Cohen. You can look at his contract. I don't know him personally, I'm just going by references. And I'd like to move along and get a tax attorney on board. We can say, well, we want to go out to bid and we want to look at other options, but do we really know what the differences are in the fees? And are we going to get someone that's better than someone that handles 120 towns now? And two of our employees have worked with in the past. So I'd like to just put this to bed and just say, yes, we made a motion and we vote to hire this tax attorney. Discussion or motion, either one. Actually, I'll make the motion that we hire this tax attorney.
Seems like you're on board with that.
I am.
I'll second, but so we can.
Discussion.
So I do see the example. Do we know where that would fall into this?
I don't, Brett.
I was trying to figure it out, but I don't. But I mean, if Zane, to be honest with you, if Zane and everybody's on board with it, then I see no reason not to be.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if we didn't have Suzanne and Zane, I would say reach out to one of the 120 some odd towns and just get some feedback, but 120 towns can't be.
My only question was that when I saw this last time is, so he charges a flat travel to auction and on-site preparation. Because Bridgeport, if we're paying mileage for him to come out to meet for that time at $450 an hour.
But the town's not paying that. He's going to be put that into his
And
attorney.
there's never a time though, that when we're trying to collect, that people just, they completely skip town and we are now stuck with all of the bills and the work that the attorney
Well,
did do.
Or if someone skips town after we've already started the process, yeah, the attorney is owed those, but they go out of their way to try to find that
And
person.
then it comes out of when we auction off the property, they get
Oh, okay,
fees based out
gotcha.
of that.
Okay, thank you.
That's the last resort, but it's always a resort as a tax sale.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
so
Yeah. We already made the motion, right?
Yes. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of hiring Adam Cohen and Pullman and Colney as our new tax attorney, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Do we have any tax refunds? I think we do.
yeah, I saw one on here.
Don't sit on Nicole's birthday cake, he'll let her do it.
No, no, you,
Oh, really?
yeah, okay.
Oh, that's those.
You've upset the whole apple cart now. I don't know what I'm supposed to
I'll
be doing.
make a
Minutes
motion
or taxes.
to refund $66.39 to Tara Botani.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. They approved. Full business, I have none. Public comment. Is there any public comment from anyone online or anyone here? Okay, there's public comment from in the room, nothing online, Suzanne. You see anything up there?
No.
Okay. Yes,
So yesterday I reluctantly signed a check to the Wheeler Activity Fund. And the reason I say reluctantly, I was here at your last meeting, but didn't realize what was happening. But in my opinion, the people that approved the budget did not approve anywhere in the budget for money to be allocated to the Wheeler Activity Fund. There's a term for that, and that's called misappropriation, using funds for other than their intended purpose. I understand why you did it to try to to make it convenient for the people and to save them the tax dollars. But you're bypassing, you're dismissing, what the people approved in the budget and arbitrary, it's approving it to go to somewhere else. If it's going to somewhere else, it should be an additional appropriation to go there.
So since this is being recorded, let's talk about the story and rather than just here, we just misappropriated funds. So a gentleman who ran a camp, I want to do the story for him because you can't come online and start talking about something at the end and not have the people listening or want to watch this recording and not know what we're talking about. But a gentleman came in and he ran a program, a basketball program. When he went to get paid, he said, I'd rather was the basketball coach of the high school. Rather than pay me, I'd like to have the money go to the activity fund. So the accounting department did not know how to do that. Because we talked about as a board, maybe coming up with a process in the future, a policy of how we could handle that, but we didn't have one right now. So we said, well, why don't we do this? Let's get the board of selectmen to approve it, that the money now was going to be paid anyway. Instead of being paid to this individual, it was going to go to the activity fund at his request. That's how it happened. So it's almost like that no good turn goes unpunished type of thing. So he tried to do a nice thing. I think the drama teacher wants to do the same thing. It'd be nice to have a policy to say that this happens. Then they're trying to do this. They earn money that they earn for themselves, but they'd like to go to a program at the school. That's money not coming out of the school budget. It's going to pay for warm-ups for the basketball team or whatever happens to be. So I understand what you're saying. That the funds, there was nowhere in that budget that the taxpayer voted to give $4,500 to the Wheel Activity Fund. But they did vote to give money to the rec department for the running of programs. All we're saying is this gentleman wanted to defer that money to go to the activity fund. We could have done it very cleanly and say, no, we're not going to do that. You have to take the $4,500. You have to pay your taxes on it. Then you can write a check to the activity fund. We're just trying to do what seems like common sense was a nice thing to do. But I understand totally where you're coming from when you look at the crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and the taxpayer did not vote to have that happen. I agree with you. But when you use terms like misappropriation of funds, I feel like it's something we did that was nefarious, and it was far from that.
Well, I mean, it's obviously it's not embezzlement. It's not misappropriation for personal use.
Right.
It's making a decision without the public involved in it. Like I say, if it was a separate, a decision made halfway through the year to start giving the activity, you'd like to give the activity fund, then it should have been presented as additional appropriation to the Board of Finance to.
I just want to say that I understand where you're coming from, Sean. I give credit to a coach that volunteers his time for money he could have put in his pocket, that runs a program. And when we put out these programs, we know that it's not using town funds to do this. And then he wants to donate back to the school. I don't think it's a misappropriation of funds by any means or any stretch. It's how that's paying. It's just like if they said, hey, donate that to charity compared to give it to me. I understand where you're coming from, but I think when you throw out the misappropriation of funds and things like that, it skews it. And this is a good deed by someone that volunteers a lot of time and works for our school system. And just like the drama that is looking to do something similar, I think it's horrible to want to penalize those people by making them take a taxable income and then just giving back to the benefit of our youth and our children. I align with you on 90% of the things. I just think this isn't one of those things, but I
understand why the decision was made and so forth, but I also understand the Connecticut general statutes. And
what statute would that refer to? That
I'll find you that and send it to you via email.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I mean, I didn't even consider it our money, right? It was paid. It would have been paid to him. The decision for him to give it back. All we did was make it simpler and cleaner and not have him be penalized
with taxes beforehand.
So, yeah, and I guess I guess where does that stop? So if he said, hey, don't pay me, just keep the money, is that okay? Or when the president says, I don't want to take my salary, just give me $1, is that the same thing? I think it's a slippery slope if we start dissecting it like that.
No, I just, those are my comments and I don't, you know. That's the way I see it, that's all.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna be at the Board of Finance meeting tomorrow night. I will ask the Board of Finance to just weigh in on it to see what they think. Thank you. In the meantime, if you could find that statute and let Brett know so he could look at it, thanks. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, our next meeting is then December 17th at 6:30. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll be adjourning at 7.